This presentation is going to be about how we can finally get our world acting on climate change. You know, climate change, as we all know, is a problem that as time goes by gets worse, gets more expensive to address. And so like the problem is that our politicians are not doing the will of the people. We need them to do serious action on climate change, but they're not doing it. And you have to ask yourself, why is that? Why are our politicians not listening to us? Because they listen to their top contributors. They listen to these people and corporations that pay them huge sums of money to do what they want. And what they want is to do as little as possible about climate change. So this climate rescue capitalism is about using our capitalist system, you know, capitalist economy, not primarily to make people who are already probably too rich and influencing, buying our, owning our government richer, but to finance the fight against climate change. All right, so the way it works is how do these rich people and corporations buy our politicians? They sell us products. And what do? They use a lot of the profit from these products to, let's say, pay a politician $5 million for their campaign, so they win their position, whether it's House Representative, Senate, whatever it is. They pay the politicians, so that they win. And so once they win, they're not doing the will of the people. They're doing, the will of these corporations. So again, the way they make this money to buy our politicians is they sell us products. You go to the supermarket, Kraft, General Mills, throughout the other industries, that's what's happening. We buy products, and the profits from the products we buy, from the sales, are not going for the best interest of our planet, or not going to fight climate change. They're going to these people who then, again, use the money to basically bribe our politicians. That's the problem. What's the answer? There is no. I don't think there's another way of doing this. I don't think that our politicians are finally going to find religion, finally start doing the right thing. They haven't done it for decades. I think it doesn't make sense that they're going to just suddenly change their ways, because a lot of them actually go into politics because they know that money's there. They know that they can, not just while in office, but when they leave office, they can generate a lot of money from these same people. All right, so the idea behind behind climate rescue capitalism is we market products of our own. We create a whole industry, thousands of companies that exist not so that we as shoppers buy the products and then rich people get richer, but so that we can fight climate change. So like when you go shopping, you have a choice. You can buy, a tomato sauce where the profit is going to go to Kraft or, some rich conglomerate, or you can buy the same product, same tomato sauce that costs the same quality. It's very easy to duplicate products in the food market. But that when you buy from these companies, the money is being used to finance the fight against climate change. All right, now this idea of selling products to raise money for good causes isn't new. And some of you might be asking, well, how can this work? How can a company exist, and give all its profits away and stay in business and thrive? All right, well, we don't, we're very fortunate. We don't have to rely on theory. We don't have to rely on what may look good in paper, but may not work out in the real world. In 1982, actor Paul Newman, he and his friend Alex Hotchner, I think they were neighbors, with only $20,000, they decided to market a salad dressing, and they decided to give all the profit to charity. Okay, so that was their first product. After salad dressing, they made I think it was tomato sauce was their second product. Then they made popcorn. Today, they have over 100 products and have generated over $550 million. All of it that they've donated to thousands of charities. Okay, that's the model. If Newman can do it, so like you might say to yourself, well, Paul Newman's a celebrity, and that's why people buy his products. But no, the truth in food product marketing is actually most products marketed by celebrities don't do well in the marketplace. They, the reason I really don't know why. I guess he sells good products. But the idea is these new climate rescue corporations that we're going to create, thousands of them, are going to have a different selling point. The selling point will be that, like, you buy this product, and the product from this, the money from this sales does not go to make rich people richer. The money goes to fight climate change. Now, and they'll know this because on the label of all the products, that's what it's going to say. 100% of profits, to fight climate change. Paul Newman does that on his packaging. If you see the labels, 100% of profits to charity. Okay, so that is the goal. That is what this is about, climate rescue capitalism. And that is what retooling capitalism to fight climate change is about. Now, all right, so we understand already that this model, this business model that Paul Newman uses of donating 100% of profits to worthy causes works. 40 years of experience almost. So now how do we know that that shoppers will buy products that are being sold to finance the fight against climate change? Well, I published a book called Climate Rescue Capitalism, where I basically present this idea, in detail. And before I published the book, I stood outside of a supermarket here in White Plains, New York, and I asked shoppers to read a question and answer a question. I had them read it so I wouldn't influence their answer by my voice. And the question I asked them to answer is, if your supermarket offered new food products that were equal in price and quality to the products that you now buy, and that you knew that 100% of the profit from the sale of these products would be used to fight climate change, would you buy these products? I asked 50 people that. 44 of them said yes. That translates to an 88% market share. Now, if most of you aren't familiar with food products marketing, but basically in supermarkets, any product that's generating even a 5% market share is going to be hugely successful. So let's say, in this questionnaire, 88% of the respondents said yes. But let's say only half of them buy. That's 44%. Let's say only 1/4, 22%. Let's say only 10% buy, only 5%. That still spells huge success for that product. That's why I'm so confident. All right. Now, I want to get into, so basically this talk is about explaining this concept, because now we're at the stage where entrepreneurs can start to create these companies. Now, another aspect of this that I haven't explained, but that is quintessentially important, is like the young entrepreneurs who create these new companies are not just going to be doing it to finance the fight against climate change. They're going to be doing it to earn 6- and 7-figure salaries. Let me explain to you how that works. In the not-for-profit industry, not-for-profit organizations, they solicit contributions and then they provide services, whether it's medical research, education, whatever it is. In that industry, the standard is that 20% of what they take in, they can devote to operating expenses, overhead like salaries, rent, office supplies, whatever it is. So that's the standard. Now let's apply that standard to, let's say you have 2 young entrepreneurs and they want to market a product. And I just want to go back to Newman's Own for a minute, because They had no overhead. They rented an office. They didn't have to. They could have worked out of anywhere, out of home. They outsourced all of the manufacturing and distribution. So there was no overhead. The only, operating expense they really had was salaries. So, all right, so like you've got two young entrepreneurs, and they're going to market a product to finance the fight against climate change. 100% of their profits, they're going to be donating to the fight against climate change. Now, let's say in the first year, they generate $1 million for this endeavor. They're going to, again, they're doing the world a world of good, but if they're giving away $1 million, that means each of them that first year is earning $100,000 as their salary. 200 would be 20%, so they're each earning $100,000. Now, this again, 88% market share. This industry should be huge, should really, really completely overpower the competition, these conventional corporations. So these two guys, two people, two women, the second year, they're able to sell enough products to generate $5 million in profit, all of which they give to the fight against climate change, to lobby our politicians so rich corporations no longer own them. All right, with $5 million donated that year, their salary goes up to $250,000 each. Okay, so that's why I say, if they're generating $20 million a year, where in today's market isn't that difficult, then all of a sudden their salary jumps to $1 million. So basically, this component of it is to provide incentive, especially for young entrepreneurs, because it's their future, to not just do a lot of good, but to get paid really well for it. Okay, so that's the basic idea. Now, how are we going to get these new corporations started? Well, basically we're at this phase of this transitioning, this retooling of capitalism so that it no longer serves the very rich at the expense of everyone else. We're at the stage where it needs to get out there and people need to hear about it. So I believe, there's different strategies for publicizing this. The one that I'll be working on is to get a producer to create a documentary, a full-length feature film documentary presented throughout the world that explains this concept to everyone. It can be done in other ways also. For example, if you see this, you understand the idea, you buy my book or just download the free PDF from my website. Or you read, you should also read Alex Hotchner's and Paul Newman's book. They explain in detail how they created Newman's Own. So basically, one can use, for example, social media. This doesn't have to rely on a film to be presented to the world. But that's how I think what needs to happen. And the reason this event, this film, makes a lot of sense to me is because Paul Newman and Alex Hotchner with Newman's Own, they didn't spend a penny on advertising or marketing. They did two simple things that didn't cost them anything. They launched a product introduction event at a bar on the Upper East Side of Manhattan, Hanratty's, and they invited celebrities, they invited the media, they invited representatives from the food companies, didn't cost them a penny, and days after they were inundated with orders. Okay, so, and they also launched an event at Stu Leonard's, a supermarket in Connecticut, where they pretty much did the same thing, except this time they were selling a lot more of the products. So the idea is that that a film would introduce this concept to the whole world. Then what would happen? All right, people get it. People get, yes, the only way probably that we're going to do anything serious about climate change is to compete with these rich corporations that are stopping us by marketing our products. And so once they get that, they will begin the process of creating these companies. And so while that's happening, this is after the film has premiered, has been shown throughout the world, people get it, all of a sudden the young entrepreneurs are creating these businesses. And So at that point, through media, through social media, climate rescue, climate change organizations, just these companies themselves can then, publicize their work to the world. Because they're going to have a huge advantage over conventional corporations. So how many social media websites are, for example, promoting products like soft drinks, and they don't do that because they don't see any sense in they're promoting products that just make rich people richer. So basically, these new companies are going to have the help of many social media websites, formats, platforms to get people everywhere to know that they they can fight the fight against climate change by buying their products. All right, so that's basically the way it works, and that's basically how we're going to get it launched. Either through a film, or if somebody beats me to it, get it out on social media, getting the word out. But what will we be doing while we do this? Because this problem of our politicians being bought by people with a lot of money does not just affect climate change. It affects everything. We don't have enough money for education. We don't have enough money for healthcare. We don't have enough money for a lot of things. Why? Because these rich corporations make our politicians. They basically say, I'm going to give you $5 million, win your campaign. Now you're working for me. Now you're not working for the people, for this country, for the world. So now imagine because climate change is such an urgent cause, this happens. All of a sudden, by next year, there are thousands of companies offering tens of thousands of products throughout the world. Every dollar in the profit of the sales of their products being used to the fight on climate change. So you can't, it won't be long until people who want to, here, I live in Westchester. In Westchester, there's some towns that are very rich, and they can afford to like Scarsdale, they can afford to spend a lot of money on quality education. That gives their kids a very, an unfair advantage over, let's say, kids in the Bronx who are in a district that doesn't get much money, So now people may not be so concerned with climate change, or people may think to themselves, all right, there are some people working on the climate change. Let's work on financing education. Let's work on better financing education. So you get a whole industry cropping up of entrepreneurs. Again, they'll be making, the same 20-80, salary percentage of their profits. So their cause is financing education. And then others are going to want to end global poverty, which has been my cause for decades. And people are going to want to invest a lot more in healthcare and make healthcare a lot more. So basically, what we will be doing through this climate rescue capitalism, through introducing this concept of selling products and using the profits for the good of everyone rather than for the good of the rich, we will be using this across the board. And what will we be doing? We will be converting our democratic capitalist system from a system that now makes a few people way too rich, and they're using the money to buy our politicians, from that to an economic system that empowers us as consumers. Every time we go shopping, we have a vote. Our shopping experience become votes because we want, let's say, some mashed potatoes, a box of mashed potatoes or whatever. And we can buy them from Kraft or one of the other conventional companies, again, that we're making rich people richer that way. Or we can buy them from a company that donates all of its profit to fighting climate change. So we'll have democratized the shopping experience. We'll have created and so we vote every time we shop for products, but it's not I use the supermarket again because it's like an in-person thing, point of sale. It's live products. People walking around. But this can also be a mechanism that could be used online. For example, Amazon. That button that You click this button and it'll just show you the products that are just for fighting climate change. Okay, think about this. Think about where our world is now. And this is the law. The law allows this, and we have to change the law. We can't, the politicians that are in there now, we ask them as much as we want. We say, like, it's not right, it's not good for us, it's not fair for these rich people to run everything because, like, they're ignoring our needs. And these politicians are not going to listen to us because they're listening to the people that give them the money to win the campaigns. So that's where we are now. We're in the process of not just retooling capitalism so that it better serves the needs of everyone in the future, but we're also in the process of reforming our politics, of basically getting rid of this payola, this bribing of politicians, this completely immoral system where rich people can just basically get their will done at the expense of everyone else because they're paying off our politicians. That's I think that system has gotten us where we are now, where, like, climate change has gotten so dire that it could be just a matter of just making things better. I mean, like, but that's the major problem, not just for climate change, but for the entire world. There's so many problems that we have. Okay, so let me do a bit of a review. So the reason enough work, not nearly enough work, is being done about climate change is because our politicians aren't voting for that legislation, for the release of funds. The reason our politicians aren't voting for the release of those funds is because the rich donors are paying them, are contributing to their campaigns so that these politicians won't do that. That's our problem. That's not going to change. So what's this about? This is about leveling the playing field. They've got their money they're going to spend on buying our politicians. We're going to buy them back by marketing, by manufacturing and marketing our own products. And again, like 88% market share, 88% of people say that if these products were available, they would buy them. That's a huge market share. Again, even if it was just a half or a quarter or a tenth, that would still be a huge market share for success in so many product markets. So that, I can't think of another way that we can start this fight on climate change. Think about it. What else can we do? If we need to rely on our politicians to do something, but they're not listening to us because they're listening to their campaign contributors, what can we do? Reason tells me, that the only thing we can do is compete against these rich people, rich corporations, and the way we generate that money. Until now, we've been trying to fight them through donations. We've been asking, give us money so then we can lobby our politicians on your behalf. That's nice, but it's not nearly as effective, as powerful as, sell us products. And every time I buy tomato sauce or salad dressing, I'm going to buy your product. So, like, and this is like, it's not going to be at my expense because I'm going to be buying the product anyhow. These are products that I need, food products. So I'm going to be buying them either from rich corporations or from you. And I'm going to prefer to buy them from you because I'll know that you're going to be using the profits to address climate change. So that's what this is about. It's about taking back our government. And again, like, climate change is the first cause that this would apply to. But once this starts on behalf of climate change, I cannot see it, just being limited to that. It's going to address all of the needs we have. Okay. So now, in terms of the film, so, like, this is kind of like an appeal to a filmmaker. If you're watching this and you're a documentary filmmaker, if you know a documentary filmmaker, whoever makes this film, they're not only going to Al Gore in 2006, he premiered An Inconvenient Truth. That film documentary was made with about $1 million, and it grossed $50 million at the box office, okay? And that's not including the DVD sales and Netflix and all. So whoever produces this film is not going to just make a lot of money. Think about it. It's a film that wakes people up, that wakes the world up to how we can finally get moving on climate change. The film, if it's done, for the film, it's not a difficult, complicated concept to explain. It couldn't be simpler. Introduce products whose profits go to fighting climate change. There's a lot of details. But the idea is that it's not a difficult movie to make, and it probably very easily would win not just an Oscar for Best Documentary, but it would probably win a Nobel. It should win a Nobel Prize for finally getting our planet moving on climate change. So, so that's the appeal. So if a documentarian doesn't care so much about money, the film is good to make because it would help the world in so many ways, and whoever wants the recognition of an Oscar or a Nobel Prize, that would probably be part of it also. Okay, again, there is no hope that I see of our finally getting serious about. It could be that some major, hurricane strikes New York City or some major city that, COVID has brought the economy to a standstill. But imagine some other worse catastrophe doing the same thing. That would be the only other way that I think would change the dynamic of our inaction on climate change. At that point, people say, oh yes, we can't vote for politicians who say they're not going to do much about it. So, again, that's, I can't think of another answer. And this answer is so powerful in so many ways. It's a way to give these young entrepreneurs a way to make very good money, doing a lot of good. It's a way of transforming our global capitalist system from a system that, I think the top 3 richest people in the world are richer than the bottom 50%. It's a way to end this inequality. It's a way for those people to stop, buying our politicians. And it's a way for us to take back our governments. So it's finally we, the people, for the people, of the people. That we're basically, buying products and marketing for our behalf. All right, thanks for watching.